Welcome to Drum and Drummer.
Hello.
Hello, Ben. How are you?
I'm good. You all right?
Yeah. How's your week been thus far?
All right, I guess. Done a lot of walking, mate.
Have you? Getting your steps in?
Getting my steps in, boy. Just walking the rivers and that. Nah. walking to work most days, actually. It's been fucking cold.
It is cold. It's bitterly cold.
Bitterly cold. I've had to get the big coat out.
Yeah.
Big coat is out.
I wore hoodie and parka, still cold.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when it's not enough.
Yeah.
Some gloves or something.
Well, I was walking back from work last night at around 10:30, you know, and I got to play a classic game, walking through the Pompey streets at night. There's street lights, but some of them aren't great. Got to play a classic game of leaf or dog shit.
Right.
You got to guess. Is that a leaf or is that a dog shit? Because they just
kick it.
Well, not kick it, but
really.
But like, you know, you can walk on a leaf.
Yeah.
But I don't want to step in dog shit.
No.
And it's dark, and there's always loads of dog shit around, which is a disgrace. And you just walk in, and you're like, it's very dim, and you're like, do I avoid that, or am I okay?
Yeah.
And you just got to play leaf or dog shit. And obviously, at this time of year, there's a lot of leaves around, so it's you know, it's a tough game to play at this time of year, and at that time of night. And then also, it was weird walking back last night. The milkman was out. Like, what?
Getting it done early? Like, really?
Well,
early?
yeah, like, but almost, I was like, is he early or late? Because,
but
he was at 10:30. He's driving around, and he basically followed my route home. I saw him literally outside my house as well by the end.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is he doing that because it's going to be mental doing it at 4 a.m?
And also, if it's this cold, it's not like the milk's going to spoil or anything.
But that's what I mean. But it would be too cold at 4 a.m. So he's like, well, I'm just going to do it now.
Do it now. Yeah.
But then I was like, felt nostalgic about milk bottles.
Yeah.
So we used to get them growing up. And not anymore. And, you know, the clinking of the milk bottle. Ooh, lovely bit of silver top.
We started, my mum started doing it for a while when I lived at home a few years ago. She started getting milk deliveries. And I did think, what are we doing? Are we in the 90s again?
Yeah.
And but it was quite nice. You kind of, you know, you leave the empty bottles out and they bring you new ones.
Yeah.
And
I just think, I would just assume my milk would get stolen.
Yeah.
Also, I live on the 3rd floor, so it's going to be tricky.
Well, how would that work? Would they have to?
I don't think it would. I don't know.
No.
I don't know. They'd leave it outside, and then I have to go down. Nah.
It's too much.
Worth it.
There's too much stuff in modern life to have to think about. Where is my milk as well?
But I just thought I was a bit, I don't know, just never seen him before at that time of night.
Well, it's funny in Spain. I know they do the bins. The bin men come at nighttime, like 8 p.m. And I thought, is that a better time to do it? You know, because it's sort of, you haven't got to worry about, have I put the bins out this morning? You've got all day to do it.
Gives you a good chance.
Yeah. And also it won't wake you up. That's a lot of, you know, some people say, they come too early. 8 p.m.
Yeah.
You know, you should be up by then. And also, no one's really going to bed at 8 p.m. Like even the person that wakes up at, you know, really early, they're not in bed at 8. You know,
we just got a new bin, actually, from the council. Basically, it's 3 flats. I live in the top one, and there's one bin for normal shit, and then there's one bin for recycling, and there's 5 adults, and it's one bin.
Yeah,
and it would just keep getting full.
Yeah,
way before bin day. And then people would just put their bin bags in the bin bit on the floor, and then the council wouldn't pick them up, and it was just a nightmare. And I said, can we please have another bin? Because there's 5 adults sharing one bin. It's mental.
Yeah.
And we got a lovely new bin. So we got 2 bins now. So
Well, that is good.
I feel like that's a little victory for the common man.
Well, I had the same thing. I live in a block of flats and there's 29, 30 flats here. We had one industrial sized bin, but for 30 flats, I don't know how many people live in each flat, you know, and it just stopped getting taken. And here's another thing, people weren't flattening their cardboard, which, as someone that's worked in many hospitality jobs and stuff, you got to flatten your cardboard, but especially if you're a communal bin, don't just put your box in there just as it is. Flatten it down
and take your big shit to the tip.
Exactly.
Don't leave your old clothes horse. They ain't going to take it away. They're not going to take it away.
Although I think that is because I live in Brighton, and that is a thing of people leave their stuff outside and it will get taken. I once left a sofa outside, and within a minute, I'm not even kidding, 2 lads took it, which is just amazing. You just, any old junk, people see it. Even if they don't want it, they'll go, yeah, I'll take that.
How did you get through there? There was like a bit of a bin strike, wasn't there, in Brighton?
There was a bin strike in Brighton, and it was just very smelly all of a sudden. But it was ridiculous because I think people had got to a point where people went, well, do you know what? The pile's so big, I'll just keep adding to it, you know? Yeah. And it was like, so there'd be like bins on the street and then just piles, but to the point where the piles would take over the pavement. So I think private bin men used to come in and try and take a bit, but they couldn't do it all, you know? It was just chaos. But you know,
just reminds me of the Simpsons episode.
It was exactly like that.
Yeah. Can someone else do it?
Yeah.
Such a great episode.
And they won't work for free. No. Literally like that. There was no bins and no petrol. And it's amazing how that just affects so much of life.
Yeah.
You know?
That's all we need, really, when it boils down to it. Bins and petrol.
Yeah.
And that's
literally it.
That's we're all good then. Yeah.
Bins,
so that's milk, bins, walking.
Yeah, you are still listening to Drum and Drummer.
Yeah.
We need to
but we don't just talk about drums.
God, no.
No, but now we are going to talk about something to do with drums, aren't we?
We are. Sticks?
Drumsticks.
Drumsticks.
Oh, yeah.
Where do we begin?
Well, I'm going to begin.
What we started with?
Well, I'm going to go with what I currently use.
Mm.
I currently use the Vic Firth 5As, baby. They're just... It's lovely. I think that. Well, I guess they're pretty standard, isn't it? 5A.
I think so, but is that just because they're very good? You know.
Well, they are good, but not what I've always used. I think you experiment when you're younger, don't you?
You do. That's because I'm Vic Firth 5A as well. And
copy. Yeah. I don't want to say you copy me, but you know, you pretty much.
I do.
I'm not your mentor, but I'm sort of, you know, omnipotent, really. Just sort of, yeah.
I didn't have a bald head until I met you. That's where the hair went.
Yeah.
I lost my hair worrying about yours.
I said, if you want to be a good drummer, you got to lose it on top, boy.
You got to lose on top.
You can't have all that.
I mean, there are a lot of bald drummers that, you know, Coldplay, Biffy Clyro, Phil Collins.
Yeah. I said, join the elite.
Probably, but we don't know.
Join the elite. Yeah.
Yeah.
Frank Turner's old drummer, bald. Yeah.
Yeah.
Join us.
The Script. They're kind of less than known drummers now, but you know, still. No offense.
They had a good one.
Yeah. He's playing arenas.
Yeah. So yeah. What did you start?
Oh yes. So I was going to say, stick-wise, I think you do get to a point where you go, oh, Vic Firth 5A, that is what I will stick with. But I think, you're right. When you're younger, you go through, I don't know, a journey almost of different sticks. Do you want to go through yours? I mean, do you know what your first sticks were?
I
Really?
When I first started being like, you know, when I first went to purposely buy some drumsticks, you know, and this would have been, when I was 12, 13. I went Zildjian.
Yeah.
And actually, it was Zildjian 7A.
Yeah.
The Zildjian 7As. I'm pretty sure my first pair might have even been nylon tipped. And we all have a past we're not proud of.
This is it. We all have things we deeply regret.
Yeah. My drum teacher was more of a jazz drummer. So I think maybe that's where that influence came from. But yeah, Zildjian 7As, very light, very dainty. And I was a young lad, you know. Yeah. Get some speed.
Yeah.
You know, light. And then when I got a bit older and started playing more rock drumming, I went, well, these snap.
Yeah.
These break.
Yeah.
So probably then switched to the old Zildjian 5As or 5Bs. And then you go mental, and then you're like, 2As. And then you get those like really fat ones. And then I had I think I went for, then you got the old custom ones. I had a pair of Travis Barker Zildjian custom ones, and they were like white and they were really thick. And I was like, yeah, these are gonna last.
Yeah.
And then I did a gig at the Wedgeridrums in Portsmouth with my band at the time. Maybe I was 18, 19. And first song, before we'd even got to the first verse, Bosh, one of them just snapped in half.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Well, that's what's interesting, because do you break sticks now, really?
No, not really.
No, nor do I. But I can remember as a kid, well, not a kid, but like when I started getting into drumming, 17, 18, I used to break them all the time. But I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a technique thing, or, you know, if I was holding it differently, or if I was, I don't know, hitting a part of the cymbal differently, but it seems weird, because I'd say now I hit the drums harder than I used to, but I don't really break sticks. So I don't know what it is, you know.
Yeah,
because I swear I could break them in a week, you know. I remember one Christmas I got a couple of pairs of drumsticks from my nan, and then I broke 3 before New Year's, and I was just like, what is, but it got annoying, because it was, at first I used to have a bit of pride with it, like, oh, I've broken a stick, this is cool. And then it just goes, well, this is costing money now. But now I can't think of when I last broke a stick, you know. It's
I think as well, I don't let them get as worn down before I replace them now. Yeah. Here's what I do, George. I'm not a man to have loads of sticks in his stick bag. I usually have 2 or 3 pairs. And what I'll do is I'll buy 2 or 3 pairs, and they'll just live in the stick bag, and I'll just pick any 2 out of the 6 and play with them. And then over time, they're all getting worn, but all getting worn slower.
Yeah.
And then eventually when they start to fray, because I'm all rim, baby, then once they start to like split, then I'll just keep going. And when they're all a little bit, they all go in the bin. 2 or 3 new pairs. Bosh.
I do.
Lovely little rotation system.
No, you are all rim, because I remember seeing a pair of your sticks years ago when I came to the studio, and I went, that's mental. His sticks are all frayed in the middle, kind of like it's sort of, I don't know, you know, the wood sort of spirals out like a merry-go-round or something, and you go, cool, he's been hitting that middle bit. And this was before I even knew what a rim shot was, so I was going, how was he, you know? But yeah, if you're a rim shot drummer, that's where the sticks fray. Yeah. If you're not, more cymbal at the top, shaving down at the top. But
here's a question for you.
Go on.
Did you ever try those drumsticks that were had the rubber coated handles?
Handles? Do you mean the carbon fiber ones?
No.
But
I'll ask you about them in a sec. I had these one. They were I think they were Zildjian. These were years ago. I had them. And it's literally like they've dipped the bottom of the stick in rubber, and then it's
I know what you
dried
mean.
and it's got like this sort of rubber grip thing.
Yeah.
Tried them out for a bit, and then it just rips, and you just get like black shit on your hands. So I was like, nah.
Yeah.
I think
No.
what I worked out was I just needed to be a better drummer, and standard sticks would be fine.
Yeah. Well, I think I considered them because when I was getting into it, your hands get blisters and calluses, and I thought, oh, maybe they'll help.
Big time.
But I think I looked it up, and it was just like, no, just
so
it's not.
Well, you had these carbon fiber ones.
Yes.
Well, I remember when these came out. I remember.
Yeah. That was all
like,
because
and they were like black.
Well, yeah, because it said they never break, and that's why I bought them. Because going back to I kept breaking sticks, and I went right. Well, how I need to find an everlasting stick, a bit like Willy Wonka. He was making ice cream that never melted and stuff like that. I was like, who's the drum man or woman that's making sticks that never break? And I found out about these carbon fiber ones, and
they made by a company called Ahead or something like that.
Yeah, I think so. But it was weird because they never break, but you still have to replace like it's hard to explain. It's sort of like the bit where you hold the stick is metal, and then it's almost like a rubber outer part of it, but you can take that off. But they just felt really
like a Terminator
weird.
Exoskeleton.
Yeah, yeah. But I didn't
just imagining Arnie now when he cuts his arm open and pulls the skin off. He's like, drumstick.
Yeah.
It's open and it's just like a metal inside.
Exactly. I think that's where they got the idea for it. No,
yeah.
I can't say that. But no, I never got on with them because they felt odd. But I'm sure, lots of people use them, but it was just I missed that wood feel. It's as simple as that. They felt cold.
You like wood.
I like woods.
He likes wood.
And when it comes to drumsticks, I like woods with them as well. But yeah. Oh, so going back to what sticks I had growing up, I think I was largely the same. Like I think I tried the Trey Cool sticks because I was a fan of Green Day. And yeah, try different sizes, but I think I was trying sizes to do with what drummers I liked. So Matt Helders,
you're a sheep, you're a follower.
Arctic Monkeys, yeah, he had Veta Fatbacks. I remember seeing that, and I was like, oh, I'll try them. And then Massive, and then, but I'd swap all the time. I'd sometimes play, with two Bs and then switch to 7As in the same, session where I'm playing drums just to have a lighter stick. It would feel like, oh, now I can play faster. But then it got to the point where it's like, one, that's mental because why are you changing so much? But also I like the idea of sticking to one stick and then you completely get used to that rather than, oh, I'll try this stick. Because I think I did used to do that for a while. Like if I was playing more of a rock song, I'll use my bigger sticks. If I was doing something softer, but now I just sort of go.
I know
for everything.
When I've used a stick for a bit and it's starting to get a bit dented in the middle, it's getting a bit frayed, chipped in and that because I'm all rim. Yeah, I notice that. And then when I go to a new pair of sticks, I can feel the difference.
Yeah,
I feel like there's even such like a minute. I'm like one of them incredibly sensitive weighing scales. It's like, there's a bit more wood on that one.
Yeah.
0.1 of a gram. But also, I think as well, I think the feel is because when you go to new sticks, they're not drenched. The handle, I don't know if that's the right term, hasn't had skin and sweat.
Shaft.
The shaft, the deep shaft, the base of the shaft hasn't been covered in your sweat and shit.
We are still talking about drumsticks.
Yeah. So like when you go to a new pair, it's like, oh, fresh.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah.
Do you find you can play better with a new pair of sticks?
Sometimes I feel like there's a sweet spot. They need to be broken in a little bit.
Right.
I think there's a sweet spot. I feel like with the new ones, that's when you're gonna enter blister territory again quickly.
That is true, yeah.
But you break them in and you're fine.
I find when I've got a new pair, that's when I play my best. I don't know what it is. I think it just feels
Well, it's like
cleaner.
you buy a new
almost.
T-shirt and you go out.
Wow,
You feel good.
Do you ever play better with like different sort of clothes? I used to have a jacket that if I put that on and played a gig, I genuinely would be like, "Oh, I'm a better drummer now." Do you ever get that? I mean, shoes, obviously,
shoes are a big one, and we will have to talk about shoes.
Oh yeah,
at some
Pop
point
that on the list.
with kick pedals. I'm sure. We'll,
exactly.
Talk about that. I think just being comfortable.
Yeah,
I'd gladly play every gig I can in sweatpants or shorts. But then sometimes, skinny jeans. I don't know. I think you got to feel good. I think you got to feel good. And if you feel good, you feel good. And I think that just plays better, isn't it?
I think that's it. When you have a good outfit, it's like when you buy a new shirt and you wear it and everyone goes, "Cool, you got a new shirt." It's like they know, if you're wearing you feel like you look good. He'll just, I don't know, maybe it's the confidence thing or something.
I think so.
You go, "Oh, I'm looking pretty sharp."
Yeah. And let me say, George, you are looking sharp. You're looking sharpened today.
So are you in your suit? I can say whatever I want. No one can see what we're wearing.
No.
I've come dressed as a Smurf for this episode.
Yeah. Well, that sticks, really. Isn't it?
Well, that sticks.
What sticks do you use? Not you, George. We've asked you. Listeners, what's your favourite stick? What sticks do you use? I don't know if there's anything else to gain from that.
I could have jumped in and helped there, but no. Yeah. He knows where he's going with this.
I don't know where I'm going. I have no idea.
I think what sticks you use is good enough.
Yeah.
And
what sticks are out there? Are the 5As? Is that like the most common?
That's a good one.
Is that the most common, or what's going on in the world of sticks? Anything new?
Yeah.
Anything new? Anyway, we'll take a little break, and then we'll be back.
What was that? Was that a keyboard? I swear I heard like a. No. Am I going mental?
Yeah,
it was me. Yeah, sorry. Take a break.
See you in a bit. And we're back. Speaking of back, get back.
Yeah,
because
very good.
You've been.
I've been watching Get Back. It was released a couple of days ago. There's 8 hours of footage. I've watched the first hour and a bit, but it is fascinating because it shows a band, how a band is writing songs.
And that band is the Beatles.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what's interesting because it's like,
you might have heard of them.
You might have heard of this little known band from Liverpool. I had a music teacher that used to say that. He used to, before any introduction into anything about the Beatles, he'd go, it was so Partridge, it was so Alan Partridge. He'd be like, little known band from Liverpool. You might have heard them, called the Beatles. And but he did that joke at least twice a week, and it never stopped being hilarious. But yeah, it's just interesting because you get the Beatles in their finished form. You listen to their songs as they're done, but it's fascinating watching them because it looks like any band we've been in, apart from Yoko Ono isn't at some of.
We've all had Yokos in our bands.
We have. Well, that's what's interesting because I was watching it with my girlfriend, and she said, "Do girlfriends turn up to?" Yeah, she said, "Do girlfriends turn up to her?" I said, "Yeah, all the time."
The good ones don't.
Well, exactly. Yeah. But it's just a nuisance because it's like, there's nowhere for her to sit. Would I sit on the floor? No one wants her here.
Yeah, this will be boring.
Yeah,
you've heard the songs before. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly.
So you've been watching that, educating, learning music.
Yeah, I can see where this is going.
No. I've not watched it yet, but I will watch it. But I've started watching Gomorrah.
I don't know why I acted like I knew what that was. What is that?
Yeah, it's an Italian kind of mafia crime but it's actually Italian. Like
Right.
it's got subtitles. I think there's a 5th season coming soon, and I remember reading a while ago about it being really good, and I'm just getting into liking being fine with subtitles.
Yeah.
And I was like,
is that after Squid Game?
Yeah, Squid Game, Alice in Borderland, and The Chestnut Man. I watched them all recently. I just have to be careful not to have my dinner while watching it, because my face is literally in the spaghetti bolognese. I can't read because I'm just chowing down so fast. So it's like, well, I'll have watch something out and then I'll watch it later. And I just actually watched The Wire, which I'd never seen. And then I was like, what's my next big chunky bit of TV? And I remember hearing about Gomorrah, and I was like, let's give it a go. So a couple of episodes in, pretty. They say it's like The Sopranos, but even more brutal and
really
mafia-y. Yeah, it's decent. It's decent. So.
I have to give it a. I do like those sorts of shows. I once watched. It wasn't a spin-off officially of The Sopranos, but Stevie from. What is he called? Stevie and Sopranos. I know him from the E Street Band. More than the show, but he had a show called.
I know music more than TV.
Exactly.
I actually.
But that's sort of.
I actually know him more from his musical endeavors rather than.
I don't know if you've heard of this little.
Rather from that massive TV show he was in.
Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah, little guy, little known guy, singer-songwriter mainly. Yeah, he's done a bit. Yeah.
But he had a show called Lilyhammer. It was basically about he was like a gangster from New York, and he moved to Lilyhammer to like live a life away from all of that. But it's obviously you can't just get out of all that gang systems, So he had to pretend he was dead, and then but then he had to go back to New York to deal with the boss or something. But there's a line in it which is hilarious because it's so like American gangster Italian mafia thing. And there's this woman on the phone to Stevie, and she goes, "Oh my God, this is so exciting. It's like an episode of The Sopranos." And he just goes, "Tell me about it." And I love it because it's just like he knew it was so The Sopranos that it was just like, let's really make a point of being like, we know we're copying it. But I love all that. The weirdest one I saw, just say quick in terms of all that, I can't remember what it was, but there was a Robert De Niro film where he was like an ex-gangster, and it was just about him moving to some other country, and he was writing a book about his life as a gangster. And there's a bit where he goes to a movie night and they put on Goodfellas, and he's like, "Oh, I love this film." And it's like, what is going on? Like, it was very strange,
Just little in jokes, isn't it? Well, just little like,
It was really weird. It was like if Daniel Radcliffe did a film, and then they're like, "Hey, we're going to watch Harry Potter," and he's like, "Oh yeah, I love that." Like, what?
Yeah, and he said, "No, don't. They're shit.
Yeah,
kids can't act. It's rubbish. Don't bother.
Don't forget it."
Yeah, all right, forget it. Anyway, well, that's TV, isn't it?
That is TV.
I'd like to talk about, and I know you'd love to talk about, because we're drummers. We gig quite a lot. We've done quite a few gigs over the years. Some of them are good, and some of them are bad. And I've got a lovely story, and I think you've got a lovely story about one of your worst gigs.
Yeah,
because no one wants to hear about the good ones.
No, because it sounds arrogant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think
I love every week when we go out and play weddings, and then Monday comes around and we have a catch up with other mates who do it, and I want to hear how shit it was.
Yeah.
That's what fills me with joy. It's just hearing these disasters, these horrible.
There was no food.
Oh yeah. The sandwich was just had cheese and no butter and nothing else. Feed me. Anyway,
Exactly.
so I'm going to ask you now, just as you take water, what's your first gig? What's your worst gig?
What was my what?
Swallow.
That is it's Swallow Boy. I want to hear about your one first because I know you're just itching to go.
Okay.
What's your worst gig, Ben?
Yeah, I don't know if it's the worst one of all time, but it's definitely the worst one in recent memory. Yeah. So coming back post-COVID, all our gigs got postponed. And then coming back, our first gig when restrictions were eased, so weddings were allowed to happen. There was still no dancing and shit like that, but we could actually go and do a gig. Our first gig back was with a fairly new band I'm in, playing weddings. And it was down in Newquay. So first gig with this band, first gig back after COVID, 4-hour drive down to Newquay. We knew this in advance, but the venue was on a sort of private beach. And to get to the venue, you had to take everything down 133 steps. 133 steps. And these weren't like nice, even. This was a windy little uneven bullshit staircase thing made out of rocks down this thing.
Did you count the steps then? Is that how you knew? Did someone tell you?
I think one of my other bands played there before a few years ago, and I wasn't on that gig, and they counted.
Amazing.
So we knew that in advance, but it was like, cool. So we took all this shit down 133 stairs. And classic, we got there, the wedding's running late, and we just loaded our gear down. And then they were like, the venue said, "Oh, go and sit around the on the beach. There's some tables and chairs. Go and sit there. We'll get you a drink and just, So we did. So there's the three of us, and we just sat on this lovely beach in Newquay. And we're like, yeah, cool. This is nice. And we can see like the wedding marquee thing kind of overlooks the beach. It's maybe 8 foot up, and we could see like a lot of the tables and the people eating and stuff. And I could just see like the corner of my eye. I could see. I assumed it was the groom, like stood around a table or something of like 30-year-olds and that. And I could see that they were eyeballing us. And usually you're like, they're going, "Oh, it's the band, or what are they going to do, blah, blah, blah." And I could see them kept looking, and then one of them, they were talking to the groom, and then he was looking down. And we're kind of like about to approach a sort of wave. And then all of a sudden, he shouts out to us, "This is a private event. Why don't you idiots fuck off?" And we were like, "Huh? What? Is he joking?" "No, I don't think he is joking." So we were like, "Oh," and that was odd. Yeah. And then a few minutes later, 5-10 minutes later, he comes down to the beach where we are with someone from the venue, and he does a part. He's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you were just some random guys just trying to crash our wedding. I got the venue to go and check who you were, and they said you were the band." And they were like, yeah, cool. Yeah. So anyway, it was a nightmare because of the restrictions. We had to sort of play on the thing and face outside, but there were sound restrictions, but the speakers inbuilt in the venue faced the other way to the crowd. It was just all a bit of a nightmare. But then rewinding, we'd in chatting to the groom, which we don't normally do, but because of COVID, it was like, we just want to make sure this gig's still happening. He asked a bandmate in the email if he could play my drums. And he said, his words were, "Oh, my bride would love it if I could play the drums." Did it start with the ooh? Probably. "Oh, my bride would love it if I could play the drums. I used to be in a band, blah, 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 blah." Yeah. Hey, your wife's not going to love it. Don't use that as a bullshit excuse. You just want to play drums in front of your friends. And you know me, George, and I know some people don't give a shit, but me personally, no, you're not playing my drums. That's just That's just it. Anyway, that got forwarded on to me, and I just ignored it because I was like, I'm not engaging in a conversation with this. Anyway, so we do the sound check. Venue. Oh, you got to turn it down. You got to turn it down. Yeah, but we're playing pop punk. It's quite hard, but yeah. Anyway, we start playing the first set, and people enjoying it. It's all right. It's good. And then just gradually throughout the first set, people are coming around behind me, just shouting at me, can you play your drums? Can you play your drums? Can you play your drums? Blah, blah, blah. He never brought this up. When he came down to chat to us, he didn't bring it up in front of us.
Yeah.
But it's all like these girls coming up, oh, can you play the drum? Can you play the drum? And we finished the first set, and behind me is 6 people, including the bride. And they go, oh, can you play the drums? And I just said, look, I'm sorry, no. And this is mine, like COVID restrictions has only just eased.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's probably not a good idea. Like technically everyone should have been wearing masks still. It's not really a good idea to sit on my drums and play. And anyway, and then the bride and I just had to keep saying, no, I'm really sorry, really sorry. And then started to walk away to just end that conversation. At which point she starts crying.
Right.
Which is good. And then she goes round to the front of the beach or whatever. And she's crying and with all her mates, blah, 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 blah. The venue are in this other ear going, turn it down, turn it down. I'm like, fucking hell, no one likes us here.
Yeah.
This is our first gig back. I was kind of missing gigging, and now I'm not. And we got to take all this shit up 133 stairs at the end of the night. And then gradually, like, there were people dancing on the beach. It was fine. And then we get to the end, and Neil's doing a bit of chat on the mic and says something, and the bride just shouts up. I think first of all, I think she says, why don't you shut up? Something like that. And then we were going to do an encore, and then she was stood there just with her middle fingers.
Amazing.
Just up at us. So unsurprisingly, we didn't do the encore, and we got out of there as quick as possible.
That's just awful.
Yeah, and this was the thing. He never came and asked me in person. No. None of his mates did. It was all her and her mates. Yeah. And it's just like, I said no. I said no so many times, and she's ruined her own wedding, and now she's left in a state crying. And and I've got a little board at home where you can put letters in, and based on a great phrase from the studio, which is, you're not Led Zeppelin, you're just some cunts from Southsea. I've got that board up in my kitchen, and it says, you're not Travis Barker, you're just some cunt from Newquay.
Well, there you go.
And then in a weird turn of events, friend of a friend had was mutually a friend on Facebook with this guy, this groom, and I told them the story, and she said, oh yeah, I'll ask my friend. She spoke to a friend, asked about him, and she went, yeah, he is an entitled prick.
Oh,
and I was
really?
like, oh, there you go, cool.
Yeah.
So it was just a lovely welcome back to gigging after COVID.
Well, exactly. Yeah, and first outing with your band.
First outing with that band. First wedding gig with our singer had done. And we had to just say to him, this is as bad as it gets. Yeah, actually. Yeah. It's only up from here. But that's lives long in the memory, that gig.
Well, that is awful. Before I recant my worst gig, it is a thing of like going back to people asking to go on your kit. You and I and every drummer I know would never go up to another drummer at a gig, wherever it is, a pub, a wedding, a venue where you can get to the stage easy and go, you're all right, mate. I'm a drummer as well. Can I just have a go on? Because we haven't got this, the drummers I know, they haven't got anything to prove. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not.
Well, I think there's
I need to show off.
Beginners won't do it because they're beginners, and the people who do it professionally or the really good drummers, don't have anything to prove. They respect the rules of the drums, and they don't want to bother. They don't want to. They'd never ask. They've got no desire to play. So it's those people in the middle who are okay, or a bit good, and they're like, "Oh, love me, everyone, love me." Oh, play with drum. No, sorry, you can fuck off. Fuck right off.
My thing is just because I used to do it a little bit. Like if someone, if they got a kid, oh, could my kid have a go? I used to be like, yeah, like a 10-year-old kid.
I still say no.
Well, yeah, I do now because the problem
little Timmy can fuck off as well.
The thing is, you let a little Timmy on your kit,
you're opening the gateway.
Yeah, exactly. And I had a gig. There was this like 5-year-old girl. And her mum said, "Oh, could she have a go?" I said, "Yeah, fine." It's quite a small event. And then suddenly there was a group of like a dozen bridesmaids who suddenly all, "Oh, can we have a go?" I'm like, "Well, not really." And then you just like you can't win because they're all, "Oh, but why? Oh, you're so shit." I'm like, look, and so now it's just a blanket. No, literally with a blanket. That was something else I learned from you.
Yeah, well, that's it. I got annoyed with people trying to play my drums when we were on our break, and I bought a big double sheet. Yeah, and I put it over my drums when I'm not there, and I have a little laminate. I fucking love a laminate that says "Do not touch the drums." And I'm not joking. People laugh when I get that out when I go and play gigs. They laugh at it. But since I put that blanket on, no one has touched my kit. So no, of course it works. Get yourself a blanket, pop it over the kit.
That's top tip number 1.
Top tip.
Because that is, it's the worst thing when you're on a break and you hear, "Oh God, someone's playing the kit," and you have to go. And they're always usually, get off immediately. But it's still like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and for them to take that blanket off. Is a real breach.
Yeah.
It's not like just getting up to a microphone and it's just there.
Yeah.
Like they'd have to physically take that blanket off. That's a real breach that actually people, I think, realise that's not one to be crossed.
No, exactly.
Anyway, tell me about your worst gig.
My worst gig.
All of them, because you're shit.
I've never done a good gig. They're still terrible, every single one. And I don't know why I'm still doing this. No,
unplug my heater. Getting a bit toasty in here. Whoa.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm in the office. I've got my heater on. There you go.
I got my heating on. It's cold, isn't it? Yeah. Worst gig in terms of just the amount of time it took. So let's refresh. So I started my first function band, and one of the members in the band said, "Hey, like the pub near where I grew up putting on a charity gig. They do this charity gig every year. Could we do it? It's in middle of July." And I was a bit like, well, no, because it's July and we might get a gig, that's peak wedding season. But everyone else was up for it. And I went, yeah, fine. We haven't got a gig that day. Let's do it. So it's in Leicester, and which is a 6-hour drive. Well, it was for us anyway, from Brighton. By the way, we weren't getting paid for this gig. That needs to be said right away. And it wasn't just a gig on a Saturday, like turn up, do the gig, go home. They wanted us there for the whole of the Saturday because it was like an all-day festival thing. And so we had to go up on the Friday and leave on the Sunday. And there's just so many parts of this that are just insane. Like I'll probably only be able to remember 10% because there's just so many bits that were just mental. So we go up on the Friday in the van, not getting paid. Let me just reiterate that once more. And it's me and 2 of the lads in the van. We go up, and the guitarist, this isn't even relevant to the story, but it's worth stating that I thought he was having a heart attack on the drive up there because he started getting sharp stabbing pains in his chest and his left side went numb. I shouldn't laugh. He's fine now. But that was kind of like a good example of what the weekend was, what was going to become of that weekend, because
I actually longed for a heart attack during
it just started off terribly.
I thought if I have a heart attack right now and during lockdown I've eaten enough food and done little exercise that I'm on the right path, then that'll end this gig and then I can go.
Exactly.
And maybe I'll get airlift. Maybe they can airlift the drum kit out with me.
Yeah. There are moments in life where you do think, oh, what could I? Maybe if I just saw my hand off, then I won't have to do this job today. So anyway, so it didn't start well. Before we even got there, he was fine, but he did have to go to hospital the week after. So anyway, we get there, we're staying in this pub, And they told us, oh yeah, you'll stay in a room in the pub. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe they've got like spare bedrooms, hotel. Yeah, no, none of that. It was just a back room in this pub. And there was, I shit you not, pictures on the wall of vaginas that were like 3D. And I was like, this is mental. And then there was just 4 mattresses on the floor, no duvets. They were like, yeah, you're going to sleep here. I was like, oh, this is great. The guy that in the band that, you know, got us to do the gig, he went home. He apparently didn't have room for us, but fine. So we all slept in the pub.
And he lived near.
He lived near. Yeah.
So he knew that in advance. He stitched you up. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Big time.
There's no room at mummy and daddy's to stay on a soiled mattress in the fanny room. It was
I was scared. Like, it was like a squat, and it was, yeah, I don't think the door had a lock, and we were in a pub, and it just was unnerving. So anyway, the next morning we were told, oh yeah, set up. They had like a little stage made, and bless him, the bassist he was like our unofficial sound man. And he set up sound, and we didn't realize, but there was going to be bands on all day. So we had to do sound for all these bands. By the way, I'll reiterate again, we weren't getting paid for this, but from like 11 a.m. till 10 p.m. when we went on, we did sound for all these bands. And there's all these different other things going on. So there was a petting zoo, which was so Phoenix Nights. It was just 2 people turned up in a van, and there was like a skunk in a cage and like a snake. And they just bored it.
I wouldn't have thought skunk.
No, exactly. You think like rabbits and
maybe a goat or something.
Yeah, like something that's cute. You think farm? Yeah. No, skunk. I think there was definitely a skunk and a snake, because I remember being shocked at like, this is the most depraved petting zoo ever. And a few other animals, but you couldn't pet them. They just kept them in the cage, and then you paid money to go and look at them. And I was like, this is tragic. So they were making money. The burger van were making money. The pub was making a lot of money. We're still not getting paid for this. And yeah, so we did sound all day for all these bands, and then we did our set that night. And we played like 2 hours, and then they were like, oh, could you do some more? By that point, I didn't care. And so we played like another gig indoors. And by this point, I don't think we even really ate that much. Like, the pub landlord was just a horrible man. You know, you just tell, like, he was bragging about all this money he got given for the pub and stuff. And I was like, I know that's not going to the charity. You're just keeping that, and you're not even paying us. And yeah, it was just awful. And then the next day we woke up, I just remember everyone being sort of really arsey with us. You know, they were just going, oh, make sure you clear everything up before you get. I'm like, we literally brought in all these people, and we gave them all the music and everything. We did it for free. And I think
and the skunk made more money than you.
And the skunk made more money. And that was what was annoying. And after that, I've just thought, I can't do charity gigs, because it's just, I think there is a genuine thing, you know, amongst musicians, of like, everyone else is getting paid at this gig, but we're not. And also, I'll say one more thing. We did get a gig offer for that day, and it was like a wedding somewhere, and the fee was $1,500 or something, and we couldn't do it because we were doing this charity gig, which took 3 days.
To a skunk.
Playing to a skunk. We did play to, I remember the crowd also. There was no crowds. There was just a woman on the front row. Wasn't even
with a skunk and a snake.
No, she was pregnant, so heavily pregnant, but smoking, and had a glass of wine. And I was going, this is awful. Like, that was the crowd, you know. But I think it was just so many parts to that weekend that just kind of went, okay, I'm never doing that again. But yeah, it was just awful. But I probably forgot so many parts to that. It's just one of those long gig weekends. You're like, this is going on forever. But
it makes you question every decision you've ever made.
It does
in your life that's led you to that point.
Yeah, that was the worst. The gig itself was fine, but it was just everything around it. But
that's usually the case, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Usually the playing is fine. It's everything else that
we've said this.
And it's other people. Other people, stop making my life harder. Just let us do what we do. Anyway.
Exactly. The playing's the easy bit.
Well, it's actually rare to have a good gig, like a really good one. They're becoming more rare and rare. Maybe I'm just getting old and bitter.
I think that's it, getting bitter.
But I'm sure there's some quality gig horror stories out there.
Well, this is it, yeah.
So write in, let us know.
Do we want to hone in on those sorts of gigs, the ones we're talking about, like wedding gigs, or just any gig?
Just shit gigs.
Just shit
Could
gigs,
be a number of things. You know,
Yeah.
just a general, like my old band back when I was late teens, you go all the way to Wolverhampton, and we were an 8-piece band, and there's more people in the band on stage than there was in the crowd.
Yeah.
You know, and you go all that way, and then you're driving home late at night, and sat navs didn't really exist, and someone takes a wrong turn, and you end up driving past Heathrow Airport. I mean, what's going on there? Shouldn't be near Heathrow at that time, coming back that way. Just any horror. I'm going to take a punt that we'll have an email address at some point soon.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say it's drummondrummerpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Might not be that, but that's a punt. So
I think unless it's taken, we'll say it's that.
Yeah. And
if you're
of course, follow on Instagram. George, I know you're going to get on that. What's the address?
Drum and Drummer Podcast, @Drum and Drummer Podcast.
There we go, Instagram.
There we go.
Yeah. Tell us about your sticks. What sticks do you use? And tell us about your worst gigs. And that's it, really, isn't it?
That's it.
Quite a long one. Quite a long one.
That was quite a long one. That must have been about an hour.
Maybe.
But yeah.
But all right, boy.
Right.
I'm going to go and play another game of a leaf or dog shit. See you there.
Bye-bye.
Bye.